Oh boy, 3 a.m.
Alrighty, that's right, kids. It's 3 a.m. thoughts. I ain't speaking to nothing but or I ain't speaking to no kids or whatever. I'm speaking to everybody. All right, so here you go. This is your boy. I see y'all going 3 a.m. thoughts. Today I got a special guest on the show. We got Mr. Caleb Stockman here.
I'm special. Hello, kiddos. I'm gonna find you and need you. Everyone to music it all.
Alrighty, so what's on your mind tonight?
Everything. The government is gonna change the future. And whether it's bad or good, we literally have no idea. So call this the future of apocalypse. That is not an X-Men title, but it might as well be.
I mean, they did have Days of Future Past, and it didn't deal with the future, but whatever.
They also had Apocalypse, so I mean, like I said, it does sound like an X-Men film. But I'm not entirely sure when I start with first. Probably start with the genetics. There's a lot of weird things going on. I was getting a haircut recently. I sat down with a lady, and she dealt with some chemical imbalances in her brain. She didn't produce a dopamine. She told me she's getting a brand new treatment where it alters her DNA within her brain to produce a dopamine. DNA that can be controlled in a genetic path or branch, which I thought was crazy. I almost didn't believe it at first, until I went to iFunny. I know, very unlikely place to go, but I went there, and the thing had an article above it saying that they were able to change the cellular growth of someone's cells on their leg to fish scales. And then below it was the actual meme, the punchline, which was reject humanity, go back to fish. But I realized it was probably a real article or they wouldn't have made the joke. And that's when I realized that what that lady said was probably true, and I kind of understood it more after seeing that headline. And I realized the research kind of reminds me of the COVID research.
The COVID research. Well, I've heard from some very crazy people. I mean, I do mean crazy in the best way possible. Not trying to deny your beliefs or whatever. Yeah, I mean, believe in whatever the hell you want. But like, so I know a lot of people are saying, don't take the vaccine because what they do in the vaccine is they put like some kind of like a genetic chemical or whatever. They inject it into you and they can control how your DNA works. Thus, controlling how you want to evolve. So basically, you're putting your hands or you're putting your life and how you end up growing up or how you end up making your kids grow up based off what the government sees fit. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they could do that, but like, I don't know, I'm not gonna really claim to believe anything unless I see it. So
well, my theory on that's a little bit different. One of the claims they're making, which was another thing that blew my mind, was that the vaccine is more efficient than your immune system. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd rather take a vaccine before I get sick because it prevents you from getting sick, obviously. But once you get sick, you recover, your immune system produces the antibodies. Depending on what disease it is, it typically goes indefinite. The problem is with vaccines, it's really typically no different. Now, a lot of people think that you're just run out of antibodies. That's not really what happens. What happens is the virus evolves to the point that it no longer matches what it originally was, and so the immune system has to create new antibodies to match the new virus. But they're now saying that the vaccine can keep up with that, which only means one thing. The vaccine is following the same branching path in terms of producing antibodies as the virus is, meaning they know where the virus is going in terms of evolution, and they know how to produce a vaccine that can produce the same kind of antibodies. It's very similar research to what I've been seeing lately, but used for a completely different purpose. And at that point, I was like, holy crap, like, it reminds me of Batman Beyond, where people can just get whatever the heck they want. The phrase is going to be on that shit. They're going to be like, oh man, I got to get myself a cat tail and some cat fur. Like, it's going to happen. You wait and see. It's going to be like, everyone's going to be like heavy, just like in freaking Back to the Future and Batman Beyond, because everyone's gonna be like, this shit's heavy, because it is heavy. There's some heavy crap there. Like, no one saw this coming. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Well, I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind some genetically made cat girls. I mean, come on, it's like every weeb's dream out there. But then again, just thinking about it, like, so imagine if Elon Musk got a hold of this kind of stuff. Like, imagine the kind of stuff he would want to do. I can imagine, like, he's gonna watch, like, or he's gonna see like an anime meme. He's not even gonna be a weeb at all. He's just gonna see a cat girl and he's gonna be like, that's cute. Let's make it.
I totally see that, but like, he might already have his hands on it. We don't know. So yeah, it's somewhere in the Boring Company. I lost track between all the flamethrowers and electric tube things that shoot trains and my freaking Neuralink over here that's super hyped. But yeah, that's another thing. Oh my gosh, we're gonna get freaking AOS, Sword Art Online, freaking headgear, or not headgear, but chips here soon. I mean, he says that it has the capability of doing that, so be prepared to log in through your dreams. I mean, crazy stuff. That's what we're looking for in the future. And like, oh man, it gets crazier. I'm losing my train of thought. But yeah, no. The Neuralink was implanted into a pig. And the pig was able to control, I think it was a, what do you call that? Treadmill? I'm a little off right now. Treadmill, and he was also able to, like, control a computer and all that. And they tried it with the chimp, but of course the chimp's smarter than a pig. But, man, this pig could control it too. And they've tried it with all sorts of things that are rats and stuff. So, like, it's super intuitive to the point that even animals can do it. So it's crazy just how, how much you can get with that. And there's all sorts of other future things. Oh, that's the one. Solid state batteries. Craziest thing ever. So with solid state batteries, they're going to be used for cars, of course. Mostly that's the main concept, because it's going to be more efficient than a tank of gas. But the other crazy part is it'll only take an hour to charge it. And when they put it in phones, it's only going to take 15 minutes to charge. And it's supposed to last a week for the phone. And I don't know, I can't remember exactly how it goes with the car, but it can go pretty far. It can go cross country. I think that's right. I might have to research that. Take it as a grain of salt. Look up the facts, because I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, the solid state battery, that's crazy. QuantumScape is the one I've been looking at heavily. Has already made a deal with Volkswagen, and in 2024, which is the earliest I've seen for it to be released, is when they'll be producing them. So I would invest if I were you guys to say. But man, though, the future's crazy, and I have more on that, like the Pentagon. I don't know if you heard, but they've released information about flying saucers. Now, a lot of people have debunked the images, saying that, they're not sure if they're real UFOs. I don't care about that shit. All I care about is Area 51, Roswell, New Mexico. I don't know. I can't remember the date off the top of my head. It just blanked. But, dude, I've seen the autopsy, and when you contrast it with what people thought the aliens were, it actually doesn't match up. The aliens were tall. The graves were short. The aliens were gray. The graves are green. The graves have 6 fingers on each hand. The autopsy had 5. The aliens, quote unquote, in Area 51 were very similar to humans, more so than monkeys or chimpanzees are to humans, which are considered evolution from us. So my suggestion is that the very thing that caused it to fly is the very thing that killed the pilots, which was a crap ton of nuclear radiation, which also caused their skin to shrivel, their eyes to swell, their head to swell, and various other conditions. And when you consider that, it actually makes a lot more sense that they're not aliens, they're pilots that just been completely destroyed by radiation. I hope 3AMs doesn't get shut down because of my nutso-ness. That's the government. So I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if we're gonna be living in the future or the apocalypse or some weird mixture of both. But that's the crap I've been seeing lately. It's just some crazy shit.
Well, just thinking about the whole the whole alien thing, and how all that nuclear radiation possibly like just cause them to like deform and look like what we think of the Greys. But it's kind of reminded me what I personally think about when I think about aliens. So just given all like the kind of standards that we humans give for our planet to even first of all have life, but then have intelligent life. Basically, they have to be in a habitable zone. They have to have water. They have to have land, obviously, and they gotta have all these things. They pretty much have to be like exactly like Earth. And I'm thinking, if you're going by those statistics, even if there's like different kinds of species on there, they're gonna be very similar to what we have here. They're probably gonna have fur. They're probably gonna have some claws and teeth and stuff. And if the intelligent life may not be well adapted for that kind of wildlife, and they would rather be more like us, if not exactly like us, more like humans that originate from another planet. I honestly would not be surprised if that's the case.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. Something I've noticed a lot, and it never really crossed my mind until recently, but you look up at like smart dog tricks, like really smart shit, like dog skating, dog speaking, and crap like that. Like you think of so like for example, the pug makes weird noises. It doesn't just whine or bark. It's like it sounds like it's almost speaking, like trying to talk like a human. But another crazy thing is you look up dog skateboards, you're going to get a bunch of flat-faced dogs. I do think that's not a coincidence. I think the intelligence is somehow correlated with flat-facedness. I don't know why, but I've come to the conclusion that there's somewhat of a correlation between a flat face and intelligence. So it is possible that intelligence has some kind of correlation with how people behave or creatures behave. You stand upright, you move, you have a flat face, you have disposable thumbs, meaning you have more ability to create things. Maybe that is a way of evolution to create in higher intelligence or higher form. I don't know. But at first I thought it was a crazy theory, but the more I look at like dogs, the more I start to believe that. But needless to say, it's just crazy to think that like the technology and stuff like that exist. And I always researched the flying saucers more than the aliens, and I always found some pretty interesting stuff that would get tear down pretty quickly. And it is based somewhat in fact. I mean, you look up ion cannons; those are real. I mean, those are based in fact. The question is, are the materials they used real? Are they using that cringe material? I forget the name of it, but some of them hold a lot of energy, and a lot of them like produce energy, and all sorts of crazy crap. But like, the more we see this other technology come out, the more I start to believe it. Another thing I forgot to mention about the solid-state batteries: there's a lot of projects that were put on hold because they didn't have the right kind of energy capacity for the project. Well, the solid-state batteries, a lot of these projects will come to life, like the Transformer project thing, where they were going to use a hive of drones to create shapes and forms. Well, with the batteries, they'll be able to do that. It's crazy stuff we're coming out with.
Interesting. I just literally had a brain fart. Like I had like an idea of what I wanted to say, but then like I literally just lost it. Okay, because I regained part of it. Okay, so the whole like flat face thing, like the correlation with intelligence, like so. I could definitely follow where you're following, and like
he's flat faced.
Like, because think about it this way, like the more longer an animal's face is, the more they are to like follow instinct more than just like just
alligators,
pure...
crocodiles, and stuff like that. Yeah,
like more totally. Of instinct instead of like free will or like free thinking. Because I think everything has free will, but like when it comes to like actually like thinking, more for yourself and not just basing yourself off your instincts, the flatter the face, it's seemingly just the more innovative, you think.
Yeah, and people don't realize, but like ants are strange creatures because in a way they're all multicellular creatures, but they work like one body. They even communicate like your brain cells would. They have chemicals, and then they have the antennas for feelers, and they communicate with that. To me, it's almost like each one's like a cell with its own personality, and the whole hive is like a brain. In a way, ants act really smart when you think about it, but they're only really tiny creatures, and they don't have much going on, except for the fact that they can unify. And I always thought that was super interesting because, like, when you consider the brain and like the size and all that. Like, some people think intelligence has to be like so big. But when you think about it, people with big brains typically have brain damage. When the water swells the brain, it causes retardation. And Einstein's brain was smaller than the average human because the closer those cells are compacted, the quicker the electrical charge is, and the better the brain functions. People don't realize that. Like, it's not. If it was a bigger mass, yes, but if it's just a bigger brain, no. So if you have a big compact brain, meaning you have a large mass that's compact, very dense brain, that's what I meant to say, you're going to be more intelligent. The denser the brain, that's what I meant to say. Denser the brain, the more intelligent you become. And I think maybe that's what it is with the flat face, is that when it squishes everything together. Oh, and that was something else. I lost my train of thought as well. I just kept talking. I think the one reason why long faces tends to be less intelligent is because that opens up bigger jaws. So they're more designed for hunting at that point. But as they become flat-faced, they're more designed for more peaceful and more thought-developed solutions. And that's where that comes from, because then that becomes their strength, not their jaws, but their brain. So the evolution focuses more on the brain than the jaws. That was something like when you mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, that kind of reminds me of things like sharks and whales and stuff like that. I mean, mammals tend to be really smart. You think of a dolphin, and you might say, well, dolphins have long faces. Not really, because the actual face portion is there, and then they just kind of have like this beak that sticks out, and they have really round heads when you think about it. Like, the head carries over and it hits. Sometimes dolphins have like really long mouths, but I don't think those are actually dolphins, are they? There's something else.
No, they're definitely not.
Okay, they look almost exactly like dolphins, but they have these like really weird bill-looking thing.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Got it. And then thinking about the whole ant thing, like, so this reminds me of a topic that I had an idea about a long time ago, but now I remember. So, ants are just basically communists, if you think about it. Because, like, the whole point of communism is that everybody works together, everybody is equal. And then,
they don't actually move. There's archy in the system. Anyways, keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that movie Ants from DreamWorks? They made jokes about that. Anyways, keep going.
But like, because I think, well, at least the initial like concept is that everybody works together to achieve, the goal of creating this perfect society. And when you think about the way ants, and even smaller, just like how cells work, like everything has to like work together in order to make something happen, in order to make their little societies or their bodily functions, go about. And if anything were to like diverge from that, yeah, then everything screws up. If a cell like screws up in your body, you get cancer.
He hasn't seen it.
Freaking, one of your cells messes up, you get cancer. What if an ant messes up? Oh, I've never seen what happens. Well, yeah, I've never seen what happens when that happens, but
I actually saw a video and it was funny.
So the guy places a cracker, and when one ant sees the cracker, he takes it away. So it puts the chemical down so all the other ants come. But when they come back, they see that the cracker's not there anymore. He keeps doing this, and he waits until the ants get pissed. And they eventually kill, they actually do, they end up attacking the ant. And he's like, see, they thought he's a liar, so they killed him. I was like, the heck? So screwed up. But it was kind of funny to think that, like, even ants kind of have this, like, loyalty system. And, like I said, it's like cells with their own personality. It's so weird. Like, the whole swarm is just like this one brain. But it's like, the thing with you said, the communism is, it's kind of true. Like, you think of the queen ant as like the anarchy, not the anarchy, but the dictator, I guess. She gets most of the food because she has to produce the babies.
yeah.
But I think is it the worker? One of the other ant groups also gets a lot of food. Can't remember if it's the fighter ants or the work ants, but one of them gets a lot of food. So even the proportions are split up. But you're right, it does kind of remind me of a communist country. It really does. Except somehow it's more functional. It's actually not more functional. The way ants work is actually very, very, very similar to communism. They have to take over other areas in order to get more resources, because the way they split it up. But yeah, it also reminds me of this freaking YouTuber. Oh my gosh, he's so stupid. He used Minecraft as his example. And he tried saying everyone thinks it's a game and that's why they don't want to share resources. And he says because everyone thinks resources are unlimited. I'm like, that's the opposite reason of why they're doing it. They don't want to share because they don't think there's enough. I was so banging my head against it because it was so idiotic. His logic and rationale. Of course, he's using Minecraft so kids find it. Communism sounds great. Yeah, let's do it. Gosh. Anyways, I got off on a tangent. Back on like the whole like futuristic thing. Anyways, actually, I'm gonna stop there and let you interject because I lost my train of thought.
Like, well, yeah. Like, I mean, if you think about it even more, if we're talking about intelligence, like, no doubt ants are pretty smart, you know, when you come to think of it. But like, because like they're kind of programmed to have to like work together to create this like little ant society to work, like, you know, they can't exactly be free thinkers. And then when as humans, you know, we're bigger, we're much more intelligent. You know, we try to do the same thing. It almost never, like, not almost, it always fails. You know, it always freaking fails because, like, you know, humans naturally we want to be greedy. We want to seek power, and then, you know, whenever they try it, they're like, oh, you know, it's libertarian, you know, it's liberal, it's you know, it's socialist communism. No, when we do it, it's gonna work, and it just flops. I mean, look at China, look at Russia, and all that. It's because when you have more power, you have the power to free
China
will.
as an example. They'll just be like, yeah, look at it, it's perfect, because that's the image they keep up.
But no, like with ants, like when you think about it with ants, like they don't stick around for very long. I mean, sure, we killed a lot of them, but if you leave ants alone long enough, what they'll end up doing is killing themselves off by fighting other ants, and then they kill off a lot of their cells because they go to war. Ants are always going to war, and they always end up losing a lot because that's just how their nature is. They're ravenous, and that's how it is with communism. Is it becomes very ravenous when you think about China and how they make deals and crap, and they make their shit so they can get money from other countries because they don't have enough of their own crap to keep their country going because of how they structured it. It's crazy. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to finish. This is a perfect segue too. So I found out recently that some of the stimulus money went straight to Uber. I don't know what other company got the same amount of money because it seemed like they got so much money they're just throwing it away. But I'm also thinking that the prices for the tickets must be low because the government's practically paying for it. But then the gas prices are going up. So I'm thinking, okay, is Uber going to be cheaper than just driving yourself? And when you look it up, like I just told him a while ago because I was just wanting to know what we were talking about. He looked it up and it says we're trying to get drivers on the road with Uber, and I was like, that's so creepy when you think about it, because it's like they know, people don't want to get on the road because of gas, but Uber can help. And then when you think about it, Uber tracks you. And it's like my dad said a while back, the real reason they want to get rid of gas is because they want to create public transportation that can control exactly where you go. And when I realized that that's what they were doing with Uber, I was like, oh, that's creepy. Because when you think about it, that would make sense because Uber tracks you and they know exactly where you're going. And it seems so inconspicuous, but it's like, why didn't they give this kind of money to any other company? And if they did, how the heck am I not hearing about it? Like, sure, people got stimulus money, but it went mostly to the workers, and they weren't really advertising it. Of course, you might say, well, like, Uber's for travel, and they couldn't let people travel and all that. And you might be right, but, like, a lot of them went to Uber Eats. It's not like they didn't have anyone. You could just give notifications to people on Uber Eats, hey, you know, you'll have less competition going to Uber. Like, they didn't have to do this huge campaign. I don't know. It's just really weird. And it crossed my mind when I heard that they had stimulus money, and I was like, that's so creepy when I think about it. Because, like, what other company did that? Like, and it seems like it was specific there because they even told you to go to stimulus.com for more information. I was like, by the way, they're doubling people's pay.
Really?
The workers, yeah. That's why I got a little weirded out because I'm like, that's a lot of money. Which means they probably have a crap ton of money if they can double pay.
God.
Instead of just saying, hey, we're back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we're enticing as many people as we can get to come. And then they'll probably make the tickets as cheap as crap because they're just getting money from the government. Like, it's so creepy when you think about it. Like, that was probably the plan all along, just to control where people go. Because there's a lot of crap going down when you think about it. Like, I still think that China was in works with America when the COVID came around, because think about it, Hong Kong was happening at the time. America was about to have the election. It was perfect collaboration. But that's just like crazy nonsense thinking that I'm spouting off right now because I feel strongly about it. Here you go.
God, like, I mean, I purposely just try to stay out of like, even, news and stuff like that. Because even on freaking Facebook, like, literally, it's just nothing but like anime stuff. Like literally, the only piece of news I voluntarily looked at was like freaking the E3 for freaking Xbox and Nintendo. That's all I freaking looked at. Like seriously, like there's you don't know who to trust anymore. And either that, and if it's not that, freaking the news is always like, oh, look at this, people are dying. Oh, look at this, it's so scary. We're scary. It's scary because we say it's scary, and you should be scared too. And oh my god, like I'm like, are you serious? Who's gonna fall for this? And then I see all the normies fall for it, and I'm like, you're a bunch of idiots. It has nothing to do with y'all. Why are you scared? My god.
Yeah, scare tactics.
Yeah, but then but the whole Uber thing though, like, God, like, I mean, what's the whole point of trying to push the whole Uber thing if you're trying to make like the whole what you call it, the whole like,
Gas.
well, not just the gas thing, but the whole agenda of freaking bringing out self-driving cars and more electric cars, out to the out in the wild over here, because like literally, what's the point of having a human driver when you can just have a GPS AI driver that drives you to
They
work
do
for
want
you.
that, actually. They want that because, first off, it goes back to the same thing. It tracks you, they know where you're at, and they know for sure that that's where it's going to happen. Granted, there might be some hacker that's like, I'm just going to spoof it, and then, they're fine. But the average person's not going to be able to do that, and not going to do that. And they do want that. They definitely want that. But we had laws a while back preventing self-driving cars, mostly because they were not well tested and they had accidents a lot. So they're like, well, no, we won't have that. So now that they've been tested and they've been proven to be really good, they're thinking about getting rid of the law, which is why Tesla's coming down here. They want to produce cars for when the law's lifted. I'm sure people who do have Teslas in Texas just sometimes they put it on self-driving mode and just pretend like they're driving. I mean, there's no way for a cop to go, I think that car is self-driving right now. Now, if you're in the passenger and are putting on self-driving, they're going to be like, pull over. Which is going to be kind of hard since it's self-driving.
Oh no, it's my ghost grandpa. He's driving.
He also votes liberal because, that's what ghosts do. But yeah, that's that they do want that. So yeah, and I mean, like, people are gonna give it crap. That's like the most inconspicuous way because it sounds so enticing, and I do really want freaking self-driving cars because people don't know this, but if we get self-driving cars, they're gonna try to make flying cars. Did you know that?
Well, I mean, I can imagine that because like it's one thing to try to like train people to like drive a car, but it's another thing to train them to be basically like a little pilot.
Yeah.
And like just having to learn how to like make the car take off, and then when he should land, and when he should make the car go up and down or change speed. Yeah, I mean that's when you get start. That's whenever a simple concept starts being a little too much. So I think yeah, that would be like the logical way, but there's also a lot of people like me where even though we humans are the smartest, things on Earth, and you can obviously see on the road, people take like 300 years to turns, people run red lights, and people are like, oh, the speed limit's 55, I'm gonna go 18, or again, there's a lot of stupid drivers out there, but then like, I would still take that over AI cars that need like a stable internet connection with a GPS to take you somewhere.
Oh yeah,
and then like,
saying.
yeah, and then like
Well, there's onboard AI. That's something that they want to do. Onboard AI.
I mean, that's a good concept, but then how is an AI gonna like truly know if someone's just trying to like speed up or if they're just on your tail or whatever?
Oh, cameras and sensors. I mean, they're far-reaching a lot more than you think they are.
But then when it rains down, those cameras start getting like foggy or they start getting like distorted, and then they're like, oh, well, there looks like there's something there. I'm gonna slow down. No, car, there's nothing there. Oh well, I'm just trying to be careful here. And then you end up being like 18 minutes late, or you end up like you're slowly going through a red light when you really shouldn't, or whatever.
I don't know.
There's some flaws that can still happen.
I know there's like, well, of course, but I mean, humans are flawed too. And then they flawedly make things, so yeah. And I know they have like wipers and stuff, but that's neither here nor there. I get what you're saying. What was I gonna say though? Oh, the flying thing. So they're trying to make like, I was gonna say this because this is something they're trying to do. So Elon Musk is trying to make a flying one too. But it's like drone kind of style.
Yeah.
So it can like fly above and all that shit. It's really cool. But it looks like a normal car, but it has these little like, basically look like hubcaps on the side, and then they flip out and they look like little drone fans.
Oh, just like in Back to the Future.
Yeah,
the way those flying cars work.
And then, kind of. It's not like more straight from the bottom. It comes from the side.
Oh well, I mean the DeLorean at least.
Did the DeLorean have anything on the side?
Let's see, yeah,
I
like
thought the whole wheel turned.
Well, yeah, like the car would actually lift off a little bit with, and then it would lift off just enough for like the wheels to kind of turn into like drone wheels.
Okay, well the wheels aren't turning. It's more like this weird hubcap thing on the side. That's how I can explain it. And then it's like a drone. It looks like a drone essentially, and it can lift it up and move it around. It's super cool looking. He does plan on releasing it. I forgot when exactly. I think it's another 2024 thing. There's a lot of crazy crap happening in 2024. I think the reason why he's waiting until 2044 is because it's a solid state battery. It just probably doesn't have enough power to lift, or at least go far enough. Because can you imagine someone's like 15 minutes in the air and it's like, oh, I'm dying. You're just crashing right then and there. Like, of course, it's gonna have an emergency landing in case it's low on battery, but like if it dies quickly, that's not really gonna help it much. So I imagine that's one of the plausibilities of why he hasn't done that. Gosh, I just blanked again. I keep having the remembrance, and then I keep forgetting what I was gonna talk about next. Yeah, I'll let you keep talking. I'm gonna try to remember what I was saying.
God, like there's so many times where like I'd imagine just me like, because I'll be stuck in traffic, or I'll be stuck at that one traffic light that takes like 3 minutes to turn green, and I'd be like, if I could just like, if this truck could just turn into like a drone right now, and like if I just press the button, and it can start flying like vertically upward, and then just start flying forward, I can get over traffic faster. But then I thought, if that technology existed, then like it'd probably become more common. Then everybody would have to do it, and then like, and if I think about it too, accidents happen on the road. Accidents are probably gonna be more so that happen in the air. Not because of the whole battery issue, but because freaking again, people are gonna run a sky red light, and they're gonna end up hitting another flying car, and then the catastrophe is gonna probably be a bit. It's probably gonna be a bit more worse, than having it happen on the ground. But I mean, I think what they should do first is before they implement all these like technological changes with the solid state battery, is maybe start doing it in cities to see how that works before like they try to expand it out into more rural areas or more small suburban areas.
I mean, I'm assuming you mean the projects, right? Because the solid states, I mean, it's already well tested. It's just a battery.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, I just remembered something. It took me a while to remember. I actually had to do a little bit of research to get it pulled up here. But there's a crazy AI. It's called GPT, and there are 3 versions of it, and they're working on a 4th version, and they're about to release a public version of the 3rd version here soon. But this thing, excuse me, is absolutely insane. It is like genius, like craziness of insanity. It can tell stories, it can make games, it can carry on conversations. Now, as Chris has experienced, and he'll tell you because I showed him the video a while back, they're kind of this boring personality. I don't know if it's programmed that way or it just doesn't know how to create a personality. It's just such a bad personality. This sounds so bland and boring. It's like, oh yes, this is what human likes to hear. Ah, yes, I am human. But no, they're still interesting to me. And since they're still working on it, I think we're gonna work on 5. I think the other one's like a quantum computer malarkey thing. That's gonna be crazy. But yeah, GPT, look that thing up. That is a crazy advanced AI. Here you go.
God, yeah, like I remember that video too. Like it creeped me out mainly because of the fact that, I mean, yes, it was bland as all hell, and yeah, like, oh my god, he's showing me the video right now. Yeah, like, but just like the way the guy talked, like the way he pronounced things, and the way he kind of flowed his sentences together and all that, like an actual person. Like, I don't know, it just made me. it made me really question a lot of things. Like, what truly makes a human, you know? And then, well, it's probably going to come down to just personality by this point, because I mean,
It's like the uncanny valley of personality.
Yeah, and that's why it just creeps me out so much, because like we basically created a full artificial human, you know, except he doesn't have a body or anything like that. But I mean, the way the technology is going, I mean, hell, they make realistic sex dolls. What makes you think that no scientist is gonna get one and be like, I can make a person out of this, and then actually do it? You know, it's just, I don't know, it's gonna be very, very odd, and I don't know whether to be thrilled or scared of our new robot overlords, you know. But I mean, that's a whole nother bad can of worms, you know.
What he really means to say is he's looking forward to serving his waifu overlord. He's really excited for that, especially if she has nice big thighs. I mean, he's really going to be into that. You just wait. He's going to hook up his Neuralink every day and be like, yes, I'm with my girlfriend now. Yeah, trust me on that. He's going to be on top of that shit. He's like, I'm so scared. Babies fake me again. Anyways, as I was saying,
the things I would do in Sword Art Online.
But to swing my sword online.
Please don't make my sword go online.
We just made the meaning of Sword Online me have a wholly different meaning at this point. You go to a tattoo parlor. I'm gonna get some art. Anyways, where were we? I lost my train of thought. Right, future. Right, this is the whole conversation. But yeah, there's so many projects. This is another one I just remembered. So a long time ago, they said they were trying to work on a way to create teleporters. And they said they almost had the concept down. They're just two problems they had. They needed a way to transfer the information over long distance, which they kind of got close on. And with recent quantum breakthroughs, it's pretty much almost going to be likely happening. And they needed an advanced way to store everything. Quantum computers, again, pretty close to that already. Thirdly, they needed a large amount of energy capacity. We're about to get all that crap here soon. Which means, if they wanted to, they could start development after around 2024. Which means it probably wouldn't be done until like 2030. But they plan on creating teleporters. Now, you might think that's cool, but these teleporters are more like Digidisc. I never watched Digimon, I don't know. But based on my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Digimon, they like upload the Pokemon, or not Pokemon, the monsters into like disc, right?
I think so. I think it is something like that.
Okay, so he's not even sure. The point is that's essentially what they do with you, which means they could just make copies of you and shit, and then they would just destroy the original. So you're basically just dead. But they go, well, you're not really dead because you come back to life almost seconds later and you don't even know you're dead. I'm like, so you just kill me and then make a copy on the other end. I'm like, that's teleportation. I'm like, I'm good. But, you know, maybe people will start doing that and then, you know, like, won't have a soul anymore.
Well, yeah, because I thought of it. Because, like, so, I always like to think of it in, like, in this weird, morbidly funny way. Where, like, so they finally get it all done. Yeah, they finally build it, and it's all complete. And they're like, okay, we're going to test this now. So they just get, like, you know, they get this idiot. And he stands on it, and he's going to be like, I'm going to McDonald's. And he teleports, you know, he kind of breaks them into like little atoms and it transports them to like to teleport to McDonald's. But then like when his body completely builds back up, he instantly just falls down like flat. You know, he's just dead. You know, and everyone's screaming and stuff. And then I'm like, you know, but that brings me two different thoughts. It doesn't matter if you're looking at this through like a religious or an atheistic point of view. Like if from an atheistic point of view, if there's no soul, you're still dead. You know, you're still just dying. But if you're more in the religious aspect, like you believe in souls, then like what happens to your soul during that point? Like, because I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be able to...
as soon as you're vaporized. Because that's essentially what they said. They said that they break down your molecules for them to get scanned, and then they just get vaporized, and then they save that copy. So it just becomes data at that point, and then they transfer you back into the real world. I'm like, and the point is, and another thing is, I'm like, okay, the way they explain it in documentaries is so futuristic, but I also thought about it in the most like realistic with the technology we have today. It's not going to be like that. They're just going to destroy you and print you out like in this human fleshly printing machine, and they're just going to be like, oh, this clone we've basically created, it's the original. Like that goes back to the was it Prothean's ship or whatever? I forget what it's called.
Oh, the ship from Star Trek?
What? No.
Oh.
Prothean's ship, the ship in like the Roman philosophy thing. You ever heard that?
Nah. I haven't.
Okay. This is an interesting one. You're gonna like this. Okay, so we have a ship. It is called Prothean's ship. I can't pronounce shit. We'll call it that. We'll call it the ship shit. So we got ship shit, and this thing's a beautiful boat. It's just a nice, sexy boat. It's a great boat. Anyways, they get a crew together, and they call themselves the shitheads. And the shitheads, they really like the boat, but years go by, and parts of it start breaking. So they replace it. But some idiots like, I feel so attached to these parts because they're the original. I'm gonna just store them away somewhere. So he finds a storage place and he leaves all the original parts there. Well, eventually he ends up collecting every single piece from the boat that has been replaced. Now the boat has been replaced with completely new parts. It's basically a whole new ship. But the weirdo who really likes the parts decides, I'm a shithead, so I'm just gonna build a boat from the broken parts. And he's a freaking, he's a bit of a smart shithead. Like, wow, I can't believe a shithead did that. So he does some excellent craftsmanship and he makes the original boat. But now there's one called the shit ship, and another one that's created from the original parts that doesn't have a name. The original crew is still on the shit ship, which is no longer made of the original parts. The new ship, which is actually made of old parts, is the parts of the old ship ship. So which one's technically the original ship ship? The one with original parts, or the one with all the original crew who call the ship the shit ship?
I mean, I would definitely say the one built out of the original parts for sure.
So, like, I'm the other way around because it goes back to, like, okay, so, like, you die. Everything that's left of you is memories and stuff that's held within people. So the crew becomes whatever the crew defines as the original, which is the ones that parts have been replaced with. They're going to call that the original ship, even though everything about it has been changed, simply because all the memories and everything they've had around the ship is what creates the ship. It creates its identity. The other one didn't have an identity. The other one did have an identity. That's why it was called the ship ship. It kind of reminds me of the whole, like, you haven't seen that either. This guy hasn't seen WandaVision either. Like, I can't even use that as a reference. But they kind of go over the ship of Protheus or whatever because of one of the characters. I don't want to spoil it. But, yeah, bro, that's the whole philosophy thing. Is like, you can define either one really as the original, depending on how you see identity.
I see.
And I definitely see more identity in, like, how others people see you, because when you're dead, it's going to be based on the memories they have of you. That's really what identity is. People aren't going to really remember how you look unless there's pictures of you. We don't really remember how, like, Napoleon Bonaparte looked, but we know what he did.
Oh, yeah, true.
There's no memory in the body, there's memory in the actions. And so whatever memory is built upon that identity is what creates it, not the actual physical body. The physical body is nothing more than just replaceable parts.
I see.
And now I lost my train of thought is why I was bringing that. Oh, yes. Which is why when you break down the body, there's also the chance that you could destroy certain aspects that completely wreck that, and people won't remember you the same way because you'll be, like, maybe brain damaged or whatever.
Oh,
It also reminds me, I think the guy was working, I think it was called The Fly. I think he was working on a teleporter. I don't know exactly what he's working on. But the fly ends up getting stuck, and he ends up being fused with the fly. And that's why it's called The Fly. It ends up with, like, a fly head and shit. And then there's, like, spoofs and jokes to it in other shows and movies where they talk about what happened to the fly since, like, they switched parts. And the fly has, like, human parts and is all like, the fuck? And he just starts flying around. Like, and no one even bothers to pay attention to him because he's a fly.
But yeah, that's a joke about the fly. But yeah, like stuff like that could happen. Like the guy could put his hand real close to his face, and all of a sudden his hand's like fused to his face. Like it could be really weird shit because it just didn't scan it right. Like think about how horrible 3D scanning is. Like it's gonna be like that with your body. Do you really want to go through that? No, it's weird as shit, and it's probably dangerous as crap.
Golly.
And anyone who does test it's probably gonna be like borderline suicidal or just straight up suicidal.
OMG, I can't believe I got fused in this outfit. Now it's part of me forever. Oh no.
Until you go with that furry costume, then you'll be happy forever.
But actually that did make me think of something else though. Like if it can fuse together or if it can possibly deform or whatever. Like imagine if that's how if that's ironically the way we actually get rid of cancer. It's just by creating a teleporter that literally just takes that cell away and then it just rebuilds you completely. Except without that cell because it just it just diminished it to nothing.
Oh, quantum tech is gonna be interesting. I do think that I learned about what was it? I want to say quantum comparative, but that wasn't it. Quantum correlation and entanglement amplification, I think it was called. That could definitely become some form of laser cutting tech. It's some crazy thing, but it doesn't destroy the cells. It can just analyze the wavelength between atoms, and it could what do you call it, resonate with it to the point where it could have it break off in certain sections, and they could probably remove cancer that way. I don't know, it's just a concept, but it is a tech that's being in development. And after hearing about it, I realized I had already heard about it. It's used for scanning. They're going to be using it to scan the geosurfaces to find material and metals and gases and things. They'll be able to know what's what, which is the craziest part. And it's all localized, so it doesn't need a network or anything. So what they're going to end up doing is they're going to go, based on my understanding, I haven't clarified yet, but I'm thinking they're going to go on asteroids, and they're going to scan the asteroids and try to remove gases and other precious metals from it. They could also do it on Earth, but when you think about it, it's going to know what everything is in that one material just from one scan. It could probably scan a whole asteroid and boom, yeah, it's all right here. It's crazy. So that's another thing that's technology is going to come out here soon. It's so freaking crazy. Oh, that's another thing. Invest in geospace. That they're already using that technology. So all they need now is the rocket and the diamond drill from Hitman's bodyguard's wife. But no, seriously, they need a drill, and then they're gonna have this weird pump thing that sucks the gas. It'll be interesting. Anyways, here you go.
God. Shoot, just thinking about it, yeah, definitely this is gonna be, technology-wise, this is gonna be a very interesting decade. So many innovative, technologies are gonna come out, but I don't expect anything to be the norm or truly perfected until maybe either the next decade or the freaking mid 40s, yeah, definitely. I mean, unless there's another world war,
Chris, we just went through COVID. Don't jinx it.
Truly, we know things happen if The Simpsons predicted, and so far they have yet to have made an episode about that. So I think we're good.
Oh yeah, you're right. I didn't think of it that way.
Besides, we all
jinxins.
we all know Germany is the source of all our problems. So I mean, there you go.
Oh yeah. Fuck Germany.
Freaking.
No, we like our German viewers. We have German viewers.
I have no idea.
Yeah, fuck Germans. Kidding.
Yeah, but all due respect though, yeah, unless some big catastrophe happens, the dinosaurs come back, or freaking
the dinosaurs just come out of the ground zombified.
Oh no, even worse. They make Fast and the Furious 10, but it's a crossover with Jurassic Park. So the
and Transformers. Don't forget that.
So the dinosaurs come back as big mecha robots that Or yeah, the big
With, like,
mecha robots,
lasers on
like
their back, and they're
cyborgs.
like, "Rah!"
And they just destroy everything. Like I think even if that ever happened, I'm pretty sure Elon Musk has like a freaking like plan for that. He probably has like an Iron Man suit somewhere hidden. He probably made his own Infinity Gauntlet.
You know he did. He's probably just playing around with us, being like, "Oh, I'm not really, this laid back. I actually am like basically already a superhero. I'm already saving the world, and you don't even know it. You don't even know it." Oh, that was another thing that reminded me. I just been forgetting about it. I don't know. Have I already gone on the global warming rant before?
Not on here. Not
Oh man, I've done it too many times with this dude. Okay, I want to break it down. I don't want to like just say it straight up and then everyone will be like, whatever. So, water expands when it freezes, right? Okay, stay with me. Please, just trust me on this. Okay. And our tide is pulled by the moon. Correct me if I'm wrong. When the moon comes closer, the tide comes in. Stay with me. Stay with me. The reason for that, and you look this up, is because of the gravitational pull. Correct? Okay, cool. All right. 2. Wait, no. Where are we on now? We're not on 2. We're 3. 3. On 3. Do orbits, gosh, I don't know which one to go with next. Do you believe in the Goldilocks zone? Actually, no, forget that. Actually, I already said it. Goldilocks zone. If so, okay, cool. Stay with me. All right. Is our orbit stable? Is it a perfectly round orbit? No? Okay, cool. You know that as a fact. As a scientific fact, of course. 6. We're on 6 now, right?
I think so.
I've been kind of counting, but then like not, because I like to use my fingers in my hands, and I'm like, wait, which finger am I actually holding up? Okay, 6. When okay, if that's the case, then our orbit will eventually equalize, which means we'll get closer to the sun, or it'll become unstable. We'll get flung out of the orbit, in which case, before that happens, we would get pulled by the gravity and then launched, which means we would still get close to the sun. Okay, we have 6 facts that we know are scientific. Okay, why aren't they used as factors in global warming? I'm just saying, you either have to reject these 6 facts or accept one fact. And this is one of the reasons I've had such like issues with like global warming. Like, I'm not gonna ignore the fact it's getting hotter, but I just have a hard time believing that out of all the chemicals that have been naturally produced, like we don't even have very many volcanoes anymore. We don't have any kind of volcanoes make huge pollution, way more than like we would make within a year. Like, it's just horrible. But you're saying that the chemicals we produce are somehow more damaging than volcanoes, which are bigger and wider and don't have any regulation. They just spew. Like, they don't give a shit. They're a natural disaster. That's just how it works. You're saying that's more of a contribution than literally getting closer to the sun, when scientists make a big deal like, oh, if we were like 10 more feet closer to the sun, we would all burn up. Even though some people think it's bullshit because you have 10 feet on a ladder and you won't burn. I'm like, I kind of get the logic there, but not quite. Because it is essentially just saying, like, when you get 10 closer and then it sits there for a while, it heats up more, and then it's not like just getting closer to the sun's going to make the whole world heat up. That doesn't make sense. I'm ranting at this point about people's logic, but I did see a meme on that. I thought it was kind of funny. Point I'm trying to make is, you get close to the sun by just a little bit, we would start burning up. Okay, well, we have an unstable orbit. It has to equalize at some point, so we will get closer to the sun. Okay, how will that happen? And if so, why is that not considered when we talk about global warming? We bring up the sun and they think we're talking about the temperature rising. No one ever specified that. I guess that's on us, but I also feel like you just didn't look at a question. You just thought you answered it. But no, the distance from the sun's important. I mean, first off, it's going to pull on our water because of the gravitational pull. That's correlation, not causation, obviously, because frozen water doesn't expand. So if you melt it, it's just lower the freaking sea levels. The steam from the heat that's produced from the water boiling is going to cause it to shrink down more too. I mean, I know it's still a water cycle, but come on, like, it's still going to make the water recede. But instead, you'll harp about and you'll continue to talk about the water rising. That shouldn't be related to heat because the heat's going to do the opposite effect. Obviously, what's causing the same effect as causing the heat is the same thing causing the water to rise. That's correlation. That correlation's the sun. We get closer, more gravitational pull, we get hotter. That also means we're going to have short, intense heats and long, cold days. We had a freeze in Texas recently. Sorry, but that to me is another proof that has happened. I know y'all call it climate change now because y'all don't want to focus on the warmth, but y'all also just completely ignore the cold, even though y'all call it climate change now. You don't even talk about record-breaking cold because all y'all focus on is the heat. I'm talking about record-breaking heat. Well, it's not all about the heat, it's also cold. And we just had record-breaking freezing temperatures here in Texas. And there was record-breaking freezing temperatures somewhere else in the world that broke records several, I think, hundreds of years. So we are getting record-breaking colds too. Something that shouldn't be affected by carbon, because carbon apparently only does heat, only traps heat. How's that doing any effect of cooling? Don't give me the, oh, well, the ice caps melt and it brings a low temperature and makes everything cold and yada yada yada. Because if that was the case, then it would just be mild cold. It wouldn't be this freaking cold. It wouldn't freeze things because it would melt, it get hot, it would go away. And if it was that cold, it would just stay in its low pressured area, which is where it's already cold. So that doesn't make sense either. What's happening is we're getting close to the sun on one end, further away on the other end. And because we get closer to the sun, we get hotter. When we get further away from the sun, we get colder. And that also would affect the gravity, which is where the water rises. And that makes more sense than ice melting, because obviously if you get a frozen bottle, it's freaking expanded. You let it sit and melt, the thing shrinks back down. It goes down. The water goes down. The pressure goes down. Why would you think that the heat would make the water go up? It's not correlated. It isn't caused by the two. It's correlated by the same thing that's causing it. Same thing causing the water to rise and the temperature to rise is the sun. We're getting closer because we don't have a perfectly straight orbit. So we're either going to get tossed out or we're going to get sucked into it. And I think they do know that. That's why they want to go to freaking Mars. And that's why they have no plan to terraform it. They have no plan to terraform it. The reason they have no plan to terraform it is because they know by the time our freaking planet goes towards the sun, Mars is going to go be in the warm zone. It's going to be the Goldilocks zone. The heat's going to heat up all the ice and crap and make an atmosphere again, and then that's going to become the new Earth. That's why they have no plan to really freaking terraform it. They're just going to colonize it. Because colonizing is going to be way more easy than terraforming. They were going to terraform it, but then they changed their mind. I don't know why. I mean, I have speculations, but I can't confirm that. And I'm not like blaming NASA and saying like NASA's at it, but it's like people come with the ideas, then they have the plans, and then people kind of act upon it. And there was really a lot of like the SpaceX idea on doing that. You know, I believe a lot in NASA. I actually do trust NASA, but I also kind of don't think that the whole like going to Mars thing and not deciding not to terraform it has a lot to do with the fact that they know that both orbits are unstable and that they'll fall towards the sun. And I think at this point they're just telling people to reduce the energy. I don't know, maybe because if we come up with an alternative, it'll make it easier to go to space. I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point, but I do know, based on the science I know, it's hard for me to believe in global warming, even if it is getting hotter, just because they've hem-hauled around about it. First, it was just the chemicals we were producing were destroying the atmosphere. We didn't have enough greenhouse gases. That's why we had the ozone hole. But then they got rid of the chemical that was reacting with the ozone hole out of plastic, something like APT. And then they switched their narrative to, oh wait, no, it's carbon. Carbon was the issue. And we actually have too much greenhouse gas. We have too much ozone and we have too much carbon. And like what you said before that wasn't the case. And you're like, well, no, we were wrong. This is this. And then they don't really say they were wrong. They just kind of ignored it. And then they changed from global warming to climate change because they didn't want people to focus on the heat or the fact that they basically just changed the entire narrative. Now they're saying, after we've made all these alternatives and we're getting further away from carbon, that it's too late because they don't want to come up with a new narrative, because if they did, it would be difficult in that.
Yeah, very interesting. And then that's pretty much what I came to think about the subject too, because like literally it makes too much sense to like not really take into consideration at the very least. beliefs. So, and just knowing how space works, yeah, like I mean, it's pretty logical, to expect that, with an irregular orbit, something's gonna happen. We're just gonna get a little bit closer to the sun, and all this, all this planet crap is gonna happen. So, like, it makes too much sense to not believe. So. I mean, that's my little 2 cents in it. I'll stick to it. Got anything else to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, I don't use flat Earth logic. I don't use broken science that was no longer used. I'm using very current science that has been proven. So to be like, oh, well, you're just using science that fits your own agenda. No, I'm using science that actually, exists and is relevant. I'm asking you, do you reject those facts or do you accept global warming? You have to pick one or the other, because the others contradict each other.
Well, personally, like, my sources tell me the Earth is neither flat or round. It's a velociraptor. The reason why things are getting too hot is because we're getting a bit too close to the microwave. The Earth is a toy velociraptor that a kid left in the kitchen, and we're getting a bit too close to the microwave, so everything is melting. And the pollution is because this damn kid, he forgot about us a long time ago. He keeps on dragging dirt into the house, and it's just getting us dirty.
That's stupid kid. Actually, I do like kids.
But the thing is, though,
For another day.
we can't see this giant kid or the kitchen because, well, it's because our eyes weren't meant to see outside this velociraptor, Well, anyways, so let's go ahead and go ahead and wrap up here. I think this is a pretty good episode. How about you?
Wrapping up. Yes, it's very good. We now know we live in a semi-apocalyptic future. It is Cyberpunk 23. I really want my mommy right now. I just scared the shit out of me. I was like, did I just say that? And I'm like, whoa. So, yeah, this was your daily dose of Krabby Patty. Goodness. I'm your guest, and here's your host.
Well, looks like that's all we got for tonight. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to all the straight up facts that we've been spitting out here.
That's just a lot of theory shit. I'm gonna be straight up with that.
Well, regardless, believe what you want to believe. Do whatever, even if you want to believe that
I don't think that's healthy either. That's horrible advice.
Well, I mean,
If you want to believe killing's right, go ahead and do it. Just go ahead.
I mean, you can try to be successful at it, but we'll see what happens. Natural selection shall be at play.
That's not natural selection. That's unnatural selection.
Alrighty, so before we go, we got a little short lesson. Lesson for the day. Don't do drugs. Drugs will make you think the Earth is flat, and that where the flying spaghetti monster exists. So there you go. So this has been your boy Asiago and special guest Caleb Stockman here on 3 AM Thoughts. Have you a good night.